And we are back with Blake Schaub and the CrossFit kids about to go live downstairs. So if you hear any clanging and banging, it's them. So this has been a lot of fun with, Blake's son Logan is downstairs getting after it. But this gave us an opportunity to really talk about, not just the CrossFit Pittsburgh, CrossFit Iron City history, right? But CrossFit itself, because I think, between the two of us, we got like 30 plus years of CrossFit experience.
A long time.
And I, what's neat too, I think, is, and that's what we want to start to get into a little bit more today. Blake brought up right before we started to record, was thinking about what makes a good CrossFit athlete, what makes a good, CrossFit coach. As a coach, what kind of athlete do you, what's your ideal athlete to train, this type of thing. So I think that's some really, really good topic for conversation,
Yeah, agreed. I think that, it's funny because like you said, I mean, really, if you put numbers to it, it's probably close to 40 years of combined CrossFit experience, right? And, even more than that in terms of coaching in some aspects or another. And in the almost 7 years that we were open in Iron City, and the however many years before that I was 3 or 4 years that I was coaching here, before that, and everybody since, like I've coached every different type of person, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you've coached every different type of person as well. And my favorite people to coach are not the people that get it right away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I can remember there was a guy that came in to CrossFit Iron City, maybe within the first year that we were open, and I remember we did fundamentals with him, right, and going through like things like the overhead squat, and there was just like, first off, he was tall. He was like 6'3", 6'4", so normal length PVC. Mm-hmm. There's zero chance that him, like his arms just wouldn't do it, right?
Right.
Couldn't keep that bar, anywhere but in front of his head. It was impossible, and we always modified. It's like, okay, you're gonna front squat, right? It's a waste of time for you to overhead squat today because it's just not gonna get the stimulus. It's gonna be too difficult. You're gonna do, you're gonna be able to do whatever. So we'd always substitute, but every day he would come in and he would work on it. Mm-hmm. His warm up, and that was his thing. Like, he was just doing it and doing it. And even if it was, he didn't care. You would see him in the corner, kind of like struggling through it as he kind of did his own thing before we warmed up or whatever. And then I can remember very vividly the day that we had overhead squats in the warm up or in the workout, and there he was. He's like, I'm gonna try it, and he picked it up, and it was an empty bar. Yeah. And his hands were, again, 6'3", 6'4" guy. Like, his hands were all the way to the sleeves, right? And maybe even 1 or 2 fingers on the sleeve, but he overhead squatted, and that kind of person that, and kind of what we talked about yesterday, that kind of person that is driven enough to want to do something, right? And it's very coachable. Mm-hmm. Coachability is something that I think sometimes we take for granted. But it's great.
Honest to God, and it's funny too, because I don't know, so I guess I am one of those people that should just have a fucking disclaimer at all times, like under, it certainly don't mean any offense to anyone. That's not the point, but you hit it right on the head, and you and I have been, together for a lot of it, and then separate, and it's still the that piece does not change, It's a variable who's walking through your door at any given time. And there are times that you look and again, this is kind of a little bit of a tangent, but not really. Scotty Pape, we talked about him the other night. He's one of our original members, and good guy, fun guy, like fun to train with. He's always in there to give it his best and all that. And I'll never forget, I was still at the agency, but for about 6 months, I was running operations stateside. So largely, I would telecommute from home to Northern Virginia, maybe 3 days a week down there, and the balance. But again, it was a 24/7 operation. So really, like,
Right.
I had guys in Iraq and Afghanistan, and I'm juggling. I've got my board, who's where, this and this. So this particular day, I was like, all right, I'm leaving. I'm coming home. It's a Thursday, and I timed it right. So I'm like, I'll get home in time, a little relax, and then get to the gym for a good workout. Because otherwise, you make do. You work out where you can, where you have. So just for no reason whatsoever, just happened to be. Jen didn't know what time I was coming home. The kids were having burgers, and I was like, that sounds great. After a 3.5, 4 hour drive, I'm like, burgers sound great. And I had time before class. So I throw down two, big, like not quarter pounders, right? But two like big, what would it get, like 93.7 or 90.10, lean burgers, right? Throw down two of them, and I crack open, I look at the refrigerator, I open it up, and I'm like, well, there's cold water, and then there's some Corona. I pop open a Corona, and I drink that after my burgers, right? A couple hours later, we go, I don't remember what the workout was, but it was one of my best. I mean, it was just a great workout. It was a great workout. And I said something to Scotty, and I was like, now the way he repeated it was, hey, Mike says the best thing about CrossFit is you can eat whatever you want. He had 2 cheeseburgers and a beer before his workout, and he crushed it. Well, he said it to Jen. Jen's my wife, and our best coach, and she's like, what the hell are you telling people you can eat cheeseburgers and drink beer before your workout? And I'm like, all right, that's was the point, but it's not how I meant it, so that went sideways real quick. But I think, interestingly enough, we've seen everything, every size, shape. We had one morning early on in our original box, which, you remember, like you said, we remember it so well, we get like the heebie-jeebies talking about it. But, and I love you're like, yep, that's why I never went in once it became a brewery and then another brewery.
Right.
Never had the need, anything, any food product, drink product, beverage that would come out of that place. No, you're going to get some kind of botulism, mad cow disease, whatever. You'll get it all. You'll get it all. But I remember one morning, bright and early, I'm opening up, and this young man shows up like right behind me. I'm like just unlocking the door. There he's standing right beside. Hey, and I'm like, hey. He goes, hey, yeah, this is CrossFit, right? And I said, yeah. He goes, well, I'm here to work out. And I kid you not, this was right when Reebok came on board, like the Reebok CrossFit,
right.
not merge. What do you call it? Like
the brand deal or whatever they had.
Yes, and I again, I've only had one coffee, and I'm opening the door, and I'm ready to get in there, get the board ready. And he's early, so which was great. And he's like, I'm here to work out, and I like check him out from head to toe. And if Reebok made it, he was wearing it. The shoes, the socks, the shorts, the shirt, the headband, I'm like, well, you're certainly, and all I can think to say, he's like, I'm here to work out. I'm like, well, you're certainly dressed for it.
That's right.
And, again, sometimes the funniest part, and there's no barometer for this, I don't think, at least I've not found one. You get folks who come in and they are like head to toe, whether it's, Reebok or Noble, whatever the brand is at the time, CrossFit, right. They're head to toe, all in. I want the unlimited membership, but I want 2 of them because I want to maybe come twice a day. Okay, well, it's unlimited, so but I want to keep coming, and everything, whatever you have, I want.
Right.
Great. And, just one stands out in my mind. This young lady, she comes in and she's all in, like jumps in the deep end. And her attendance was really sporadic. And that is something that, each box has its own op tempo, I suppose. But there have been times when you just get a feeling, and hey, everything all right. Like reach out, you see the attendance, like, hey, everything okay, because I'm sure you did the same. Like as an affiliate owner, one of the things that I love being able to do is, hey, is something wrong? Is everything okay? Haven't seen you in a little while. Oh, well, I did this and it's going to be a while. Now, they haven't asked to stop their membership, pause their membership, anything like that. So you reach out and you go, well, look, you haven't been here, so let's just place this on hold. Come on back when you're feeling better. If you tweaked your back, twisted an ankle, did something like that. This young lady's the exact opposite. She sends us a message, and she was like, yeah, I'd like to cancel my membership. This just isn't for me. I don't feel like I'm getting enough cardio, so I'm going back to fitness boxing. That's a simple answer. Okay? Yeah. You're not getting enough cardio. I can assure you. This is why we brief the workouts the way we do in the pre-workout. The warm-up is tailored to the work. I mean, this is your intended stimulus, right? If it's supposed to be a sprint and you turn it into a stroll, if it's supposed to be a heavy day, and it's relative to the athlete, sure. But I mean, I think those are the things. And I'm not even sure that type of individual, I'm not even sure that that's coachable or uncoachable. I just don't believe it's a right fit. I think they thought it was going to be something else.
Right.
And what that is, I don't know. Maybe.
And I mean, to that point, right? There's the great thing about CrossFit, in my mind, is that the workout for the day might be 10 minutes long, right? Mm-hmm. It might be Murph, and it might be pushing 45 minutes, or it might be Chad, where you're doing 1,000 step-ups for an hour, or whatever it might be, right?
Right.
And all those things are intended to hit a certain stimulus, right? And do a certain thing, and it's a way for coaches and programmers to make sure that you're not doing too much, right? Because that person you just talked about, and I know that we had lost athletes that said, hey, we're going to go to a different gym because we don't feel like we're getting enough.
Right.
And it's just like, if you do everything that you're asked in a given class, right? You do a warm-up that's, let's say, 10 to 15 minutes long, right? And you're sweating, and you're, the old mantra of our warm-up is your workout type thing, right? And even that original CrossFit warm-up, right? 3 rounds, a 400-meter run, 10 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 10 sit-ups, 10 squats, 10 Samson stretch, right? You do 3 rounds of that, and tell me that you're not properly warmed up, then I'll tell you that you're not doing it hard enough, right? And you're not pushing yourself enough. And, you do all those other things, and sometimes you look at it and you're like, wow, Fran or Grace or Isabel, right? Like, I know, when I coach Grace, I tell people, I'm like, you really should be no more than 6 minutes, right? Like, 6 minutes is, you've missed the point, right? And really, even at that 6 minute mark, maybe next time, if you push, you beat 6 minutes and you get like 4 minutes. Okay, well, if you didn't do at the prescribed weight, then increase the weight next time. Right? Because you will ultimately get better, and it's not really always that exciting that because people want to compete. Like, oh, but I was the last one to finish. Okay, well, maybe if you were the last one to finish, and you missed that stimulus, you missed 6 minutes, right? And it took you 7 to finish. Well, then next time lower the weight and go fast. And if you think your weight is too low, the easiest way to look at it is say, like, okay, well, who's the person in this room that, or the person in the gym that has posted their score that's the fastest prescribed, or the person that you normally kind of work with or whatever. And if you're crushing the times that they're doing, then it's too easy. Right?
Do you know what's fun for me talking with you? Every example we're bringing up, all of a sudden I'm just like ting, 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 ting. I'm firing off like time, place, person. We talked about this on Monday, you and I. Fight Gone Bad. Okay, and the Fight Gone Bad was arguably it's a hard workout.
Right.
I love the origin story. BJ Penn, it was his time in the UFC. He was, he had already arrived, and I just don't recall had he already won his championship belt, his first one, but he was at the original CrossFit HQ with Greg, and hey, you know what? Let's put something together that you could use, that would simulate an MMA fight. So they modeled it like 3 rounds, 3 5-minute rounds, or the 5-minute version, and a minute break in between. And then it's, calories on the rower. And if I'm not mistaken, I know box jumps, but was that not one of the first ones we ever saw when it was like step-ups are allowed?
Yeah, because like in the middle of a fight, you can't stop and be like, well, I can't do this right now. Well,
right.
You can keep moving.
So it's like, well, step-ups are allowed. Push press, empty bar push press, right? 45 pounds. Oh, no. 75.
Yeah.
75 pounds. That's that's part of the story. So, and sumo deadlift high pull, right, with the same weight. And wall balls, right? So I was like, oh my God, like that's, again, that's CrossFit. I mean, seemingly like, you got 5 movements that any one of them by themselves, not too bad. But in context, that's evil. Oh. That's just evil. You're like, oh God. So, okay, super. And I think the first time we did it, it was like a punch in the face. It really was. But it would come around every so often. Or we would program it deliberately every so often. And there was a guy in our gym, good dude. I mean, I can't say anything bad about him. Good guy. However, he was one of those, not uncoachable, but just sort of, and polite. Like, that was the thing. Like, you couldn't even really be pissed off because he was courteous and polite. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, here's the news. You don't know more than our coaches. You certainly don't know more than Jen and Blake. I'd throw my name in there too, as like, I was probably the least disciplined coach we had as far as like, and you know what, it sounds very, very ignorant to say it now, and I was in a different headspace back then, but between deployments, my thing was, I'm like, look, I don't work with guys that I need to motivate. Right. And when they train, it's like, you just get out of the way, and as you said, training guys who want to get better, who want to push as hard as they can, you get spoiled. Yeah. You really do get spoiled. But then I think that challenges you more as a coach when you come away from that and you do come back to, hey, I've never tried this before, but I've heard good things about it. Super. Now you have that old, hey man, it's like it's clay and I could shape this. And I have the ability here or the potential to shape this into something that's going to impact this person's life or turn them against it. Right. So be careful because you got something there pretty important. And it was 300. I'll never forget it. And this guy was not a bad guy, but always knew better. Okay. This was a guy, and when I say this, I know you're going to know who it was. Show up for class, always late for the warm-up. But then his argument would be, like a day like today, hot, 90 degrees, sweltering, humidity. Oh, I'm already warmed up. I had the heater on in my car on the drive over. I'm like, and he was a professional, like academically smart enough to know that, like, there's a difference between like I am feeling warm and I am warmed up. I'm like, oh, dude, I don't even understand. And then the bad side of me back then was like, okay, like fuck around and find out. It's going to be like, all right, well, go ahead then, Super Chief. Like you're ready. Stop. No, fix it. But we did partners. We partnered up. We scored each other. And I believe this particular day, I want to say it was Dangerous Dave. I was paired up with him again. And it would be like, okay, they'd call out like you were in that heat. Yeah. Jen would be putting the scores on the board. Remember we did everything on the dry erase board back then? And she'd be like, Blake, well then your partner would call out your score because he's got the score sheet, right? Yeah. So whoever it was, Mike, and this was when you and I were probably both like I'm not sure if any of us had yet broken 300, right. Yeah. And it was that, like I referred the other day, it was in the high 2s, enough so that you'd look at your score sheet and go, you know what, all I had to do was one more here, one more here, one more here for every round. So it calls out the score, like let's say it was like 287, or it was like close enough to piss you off. Right. It wasn't like, hey, I'm almost there. It was like, you got to be kidding me. Or like a 297 where you're like, yeah, really? Really? And then it goes around and she calls this individual's name. And he's so excited, he doesn't let his partner call it out. He calls it out himself. 417! I swear to God, I think I just like, stop, and again, childish. Yeah, for sure. But at the same time, I'm like, brother, you've been doing this too long. And then, of course, I did double check, double take, looked at his workstation, and I'm like, my God. I mean, he's using an empty barbell for the push press. He's using and this guy was big and strong and fit. And I'm like, okay, so again, right back to coaching. One, oversight on our part as coaches should have never. What's the point? There is no point. If you can score that high and scale that severely, you totally violated the intended stimulus of this workout, and you did yourself a disservice.
You never get to that muscle failure portion of it, right? I mean,
right.
Sure, eventually you would, but not in 3 rounds, most likely.
Absolutely.
And that's, I think while you're saying that, it made me think, like, one of the things that I have, my philosophy has changed slightly over the years is that, like, when I write programming for people now, I don't put weights in. Like, I tell them, like, hey, this is what I want you to be able to do, or this is a number that I want you to be able to do. Like, let's say it's Grace or whatever, but, like, here's the rep scheme that I want you to be able to hit. So in order to be able to hit that, like, obviously, for me, when I do Grace now, I always do 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then 3 singles at the end. Right? So it's like you get those big sets out of the way quick, and you just set it down just long enough to take a breath and do it again. And I'm like, you need to be able to do 7 unbroken, and to be able to, like, do a touch and go pretty quickly, and because I think that eliminates those things, because the people that I have found to be sometimes the most difficult to coach look at quote unquote prescribed weights, and they're like, well, that's the weight that I have to use.
Right.
And then, like, all that intended stimulus talk
goes
discussion
right out the
goes,
window.
Like, in one ear and out the other ear, and you're then fighting a battle that you're never gonna win.
Right.
But instead, if you said, hey, this is the intended stimulus, fill in the blank for the weight, I've found that people ultimately will push themselves more than they would, or allow themselves to kind of scale down more than they would if there's a number on the board.
Right.
And I even think that with the CAP programming, right, I think they do a nice job with that now, because still prescribed weight, but it's like, look, we have a prescribed weight, and then for the RX, and then we have intermediate, and then we have beginner. So now you have those 3 things built in already. And same thing with movements. Like, okay, well, I can't do chest to bar pull-ups, or I can't do muscle ups. Okay, well, then let's look at the next scale of it, right? And it doesn't make you any less of a person. It just means that, like, like if I said to you, hey, we're gonna do nasty girls, and you're like, oh, cool, what's that? And I tell you, okay, well, you got to do 50 air squats, 10 hang power cleans at 135 pounds, and 7 muscle ups for 3 rounds. And you're like, cool, I can air squat, I can't hang power clean 135,
right,
and I can't do a muscle up. Okay, and I said to you, okay, well, what I want you to do is I'm going to give you a 20-minute cap, and I want you to get through as much of that as possible. But I'm not going to let you scale any of it. I'm not going to let you... And then, like, 15 minutes later, they're laying on the ground with the bar on top of them because they, tried to, like, hip thrust it and reverse curl it or whatever.
Exactly right.
And it hit him in the face.
You give me a 20-day cap.
Right.
If I can't move the 135, I can't move
right.
it.
Or you said to somebody, you're like, okay, well, fine. What we're gonna do is, okay, well, you can 1 rep max 95 pounds. Well, let's make it 65 pound hang power clean. And you can do, you can't do a muscle up. You can't do chest bar pull up. Okay, well, we're gonna do. You can do pull ups. You can do 7 pull ups. Cool. Do 7 pull ups. And as long as the goal, the intended stimulus there, like, I really want you to be able to do, like, if you can do 2 at a time, cool. Because if you're looking at that, now I know it's a little bit different than whenever we started CrossFit, but 7 muscle ups, like, not everybody's going to be able to string them all together.
Right.
So if I'm doing 1 or 2 muscle ups, and you're doing 1 or 2 pull ups, stimulus is the same. Right?
Yeah.
Like, you're still getting your pulling work in. Right? Or even if you said, like, okay, well, we're going to do 1 pull-up and 1 dip.
Yep.
Or whatever. Like, and you do those things, and you realize that at the end of the day, like, okay, maybe I really want to do a muscle-up.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to get a muscle up in the middle of a workout where intensity is the goal,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm going to get a muscle up by practicing it whenever I have time.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna, because something like a muscle up, more so than a pull up maybe, is you need the skill to be able to pull
Mm-hmm.
and the strength to be able to pull. But like if you know the technique, whether you did it today or you haven't done it in a year, like the technique,
Mm-hmm.
you could probably still do it. As opposed to like, and all those other things as well. Like you can't. I really want to be able to do a kipping pull up, but I can't move when I'm on the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's start with a ring row.
Right.
And let's build that pulling strength, and then once you get there, then let's throw a band on, and you're gonna do a strict banded pull up, right? And then you're gonna work on learning how to effectively kip,
Mm-hmm.
and you're gonna build all these things together, and then you know what? Maybe it's 3, 4, 5, 6 months down the road, but you learn how to do it, and and the whole way along you've built, you've learned to kip, so you've built coordination, you've built core strength,
Mm-hmm.
You've been working on your pulling, so now it's not, and we've seen this before, it's not like that like running kip, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm forcing myself up in order to, with my legs, and you're learning how to effectively do those things, and you build those kind of things, and when you're not ego driven,
Mm-hmm.
right, and you're not worried about like, well, that person's watching me.
Right.
Most likely they're not. Most likely they're on their own suck fest themselves.
Exactly
right.
right.
If the intended stimulus is, hey, we're going to do this workout sub 6 minutes, you better have your head down
Mm-hmm.
and do work, or else you're not going to finish sub 6 minutes, or whatever it might be. So you're not like, I give two shits what that person over there is doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
If you do have that kind of time and wherewithal, there's probably something about your workout that's lacking, right? Like you might be too heavy.
Oh,
exactly
right.
Hard, whatever.
Exactly right. And I think too, the wildest part about it is, I think CrossFit itself, I certainly know CrossFit, like our CrossFit Pittsburgh journey, it wasn't like linear growth, it was like exponential. And I'm pretty sure that's how it hit at headquarters and then at all of the original affiliates as well. I think we were so, and I don't want to say it in the past tense, I mean, we're still excited. If we weren't, right. You don't do something for 19 years if you're not excited about it every day. And there's a group now, they're CrossFitters, coaches, like 3s and 4s that set up a business to groom and coach other affiliates, right? And it's called Best Hour of Their Day.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that. I love that because that is something that I've been like, and I don't mean this, I'm like, oh, I should have come up. I don't mean it like that.
Right.
But, I wake up in the morning and I'm like, well, you know what? My workout is the best hour of my day. And I'm hopeful that every class that comes through our doors is like, hey, guys, when I coach the 5:30 a.m., so I'm like, listen, no matter what happens for the rest of your day, you already hit this thing
right. hard,
and now you go out and take on whatever challenges, like this. And I love that. I love that as a community, that it should be the best hour of your members' day, your athletes' day. You call them members, clients, athletes, what have you, but should be the best hour of their day. Unless, incredibly they have like the birth of a child, or like they propose to the love of their life, or, something like that. But should be the best hour of their day. If it's not, then there's something's amiss, But like you said, I think too, it's easy to say, hey, leave your ego at the door. Hey, put aside all preconceived notions. Easier said than done.
Right.
But I also believe largely a lot of that behavior is self-correcting, even if it means, well, you can't change that person. They just don't do this anymore.
Right.
Like they've gone on. And, there was another acquaintance of ours who worked at a beautiful, beautiful gym right down the street. It's not there anymore. It's leveled. But Club One was a Pittsburgh institution
right.
for decades. I worked there as an undergrad at Pitt back in the early 80s. I left the Navy. I went back there as a member and trained there. That's where I met Jennifer. She was working there at the time when she was an undergrad, years after me. And it was just a great place to train. Well, they would always keep up. I don't want to say keep up with the times. I think they were ahead of the times. But at one point, they put in like a little functional fitness corner, a little functional fitness area, And I'm still adamantly, like, if there's one thing that will piss me off, it's people that fucking do CrossFit without being CrossFit. And I don't mean the guy that does it on his patio or you know what I'm talking about. You call it whatever you want. There's an old story in the community that I want to say it was in Dallas, Texas, and this non-affiliate starts putting it out, and this was way back in the early 2000s, Dallas CrossFitness. I mean, come on, man. You know what? There are things that you should just be punched in the face for.
Right.
And that is so, there's a play on words. It's no, it's not.
Right.
It's you know what that is? That's thievery. It's misrepresentation. And you did it on purpose because CrossFit was already a thing.
Right.
And
it's much easier than coming up with your own marketing.
Right.
Or whatever. Like, yeah, it's tough whenever you're doing that. And you're like, I believe, and you believe, I believed in it enough, and you believe in it enough, that, like, we opened gyms and affiliated with CrossFit because we thought that was what was, truly going to make a difference in the health and wellness of people in our communities, right? And if you, as an owner, as a entrepreneur, whatever, don't believe that CrossFit is important, or you don't think that it's the thing that we think it is, then that's fine. But don't try to pull it from its popularity,
right?
Especially whenever it was at its, whenever it was the most mainstream, right? Whenever like Reebok was branding stuff with it and everything, and that point in time, like, you just figure out how to market yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like learn how to do that, and you might have a great product.
Right.
But it doesn't have to be, where you're just like.
Listen, man, in the surfing community, there's a big no. You don't fucking ride someone else's wave. We're sitting out there all day. It's an unspoken, like, or maybe it is. Hey, man, you're next. You're up. Then all of a sudden, here comes some jabroni. And he's just like, hey, and it is funny because it's the world we live in. And I want to say, and I don't want to get like hit with any kind of fucking lawsuit because you should all be shut down too for killing our youth. Fast food restaurants. The story goes, and I want to say it might be Burger King. Don't know if that's a fact or not. So I'm not going to fact check this because I don't really give a fuck. But like, let's say McDonald's does their due diligence and their neighborhood demographic research and all that, and they pick a spot for a new location. And I'm just using these as word names now. I do believe that's the case, though, because it's like, okay, McDonald's does their homework. They pick a spot and market research and all of that, and they open a location. I do believe it's another heavy hitter in the fast food world. They don't do any of that. What they do is, anytime McDonald's opens up, they'll find a space within a 2-block radius, and they'll open up a location. And that's their philosophy. Is now I have more respect for that because fast food is funny, man. And I'm not going to name names. I'm looking right at you. I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to drag anybody through the mud. But there may be people that we know who have a certain attraction to, let's say, Long John Silver's. All right, so that's your jam. Have at it, right? As long as you train hard before and after. But not after. That would be
train twice before.
that would end badly.
Yeah,
but
it's not a good idea.
I think in a way there's more respect for that because it's like, well, my kids, like, at an early age, like, no, I don't like that. I like this. Like,
right.
They'll Wendy's is their thing, not.
Yeah.
I don't know that they ever had Burger King. It's like, what's close?
Yeah, right.
What's close? What's on your route or whatever. But I think there's more regard for that because they are different.
Yeah.
It's like, well, Burger King has their thing, McDonald's has their thing, and, so forth. But I disagree completely when it comes to fitness because what you're essentially doing, you're throwing it out there like you're inviting yourself to the community when you're not.
Right.
And as you said, the affiliate fee exists to maintain your affiliation. And I will say that I know it's a sensitive topic right now among some of the affiliates where there's an increase in affiliate fees. Well, we were one of those affiliates that got in the beginning, and we paid $500 a year for 18 years, right? 18 years at $500 a year, and thankful to have done it. As I remember, it was like, I don't remember what it jumped to from when it went from 500 to whatever it went to.
Yeah.
I don't know that it went to 1,000, or I think it might have went from 500 to like now it's 2,000. Now it's 2,500. Now it's 3,000 as they stair-stepped it up as new affiliates joined. But I do recall that when those new affiliates joined, Greg's philosophy was always like, what you buy in at is what you stay at, period. Well, things change. Things change. It no longer belongs to one person. Now it's, I don't know who owns us right now. I don't know if I think it's some kind of
bunch of VCs.
Yeah.
Right? I think venture capitalists.
Yeah, exactly.
Main owners of it.
Exactly, which is fine. I mean, that's how they make money. And I will say this, straight up. So far, everything that I see that HQ is doing, I'm pretty impressed with. I really am and I'm beyond the ability to, because right now, and it's an entrepreneurial spirit, and I salute them, but a lot of big name CrossFit athletes are all selling programming, monthly subscription fee for programming, and that's great. More power to you, but no disrespect to anyone, but 19 years ago, we affiliated with CrossFit. Yeah. We didn't affiliate with this guy, that guy, Mike Fit, Blake Fit.
Right.
Doesn't mean we won't, listen, until somebody gives me a really good reason to stop, we're not going to.
Right.
But I think, well, what are you going to do for the affiliate? What are you going to do for the affiliate? So far, what I've seen, I'm pretty impressed with. I really am. I think the affiliate programming is, well, just like we've already discussed, if you're missing something, it's your fault. As a coach, as an owner, if you subscribe to CAP and you feel like it's lacking, then the marketplace is ripe with other opportunities. But there's not a whole, and no disrespect to any of our coaches. I think we've done and I'm pretty proud of that too. We have never once hired a coach. Never. People have dropped resumes off and hey, are you hiring? And I've told them with open arms, I'm like, we don't, but I'll tell you what, why don't you come train with us for a while on me? You don't have to buy a membership. Just train with us, and let's see if it's a fit. And, we fluctuate from 12 to 13, 14 coaches at any given time. Every one of them, you were the model for it. Every one of them was a member who showed the desire to coach, showed the aptitude to coach, and, we would just kind of bring them along, have them shadow, have them co-coach, get them their L1, get them their L2. Pretty proud of that, but I think too, nothing I would change. There's just so many resources out there that are available to the affiliates now. If you think there's something lacking, maybe you ought to take a closer look and go with them. Maybe I didn't know about that, or I'm not fully aware or invested. I don't know, but and then too, I think I still love the fact that you can make it whatever you want. If you want to keep it, organic, keep it grassroots, you can do it. If you want to boutique it a little bit. And there was one call that we got on, right? Was it during might have been right when COVID started. And we weren't sure what was going to happen and how long it was going to go. But it was hosted by, I want to say Watify. Because we had used Watify for membership management before we switched over to StreamFit. That's right, StreamFit for all your. It's not an advertisement, but we use StreamFit. We love it. So, it was a Watify call because they would have these from time to time. You could sit in and listen. I don't remember who the guy was. Don't care. This is not a shot at him. But it was one of those things that I was glad it was a dial-in and not a Zoom. Because Jen and I are sitting there, and it didn't take long. well, I mean, if you feel like you're struggling and you're not making as much, there's no reason you shouldn't be making, big money. Maybe you need to rethink your model, and maybe you should have fewer members and charge them more. And at that point, honest to God, I was like, I'll go watch grass grow, or maybe weed and feed the lawn. That's not and I don't argue the logic, right? Fuck, man, when Michael was a little boy, I'll never forget that. He was little, and we were talking about business development and growth and this, and I was getting ready to go back on deployment. And he could have been more than 5. And he was like, Dad, why do you have to go away again? And I'm like, well, buddy, I said, it's my job. And I said, now he didn't know. That's one of the things I was most pleased with, was the kids never really fully grasped what I was doing.
Right.
Yeah, oh, Daddy works far away. Awesome. But, Dad, why do you have to go away again? I was like, well, buddy, it's my job. And I said, and everybody, when you grow up, you go to work. I said, it's just that my work is further away, so I have to stay there. And he goes, well, I mean, I thought the gym was your work. And I was like, well, it is, bud. And I said, but, until that gets to a point where it can, and how do you explain economics to a 5-year-old? Well, you reach a price point, and then until it can sustain,
right.
And I said, well, buddy, we just need to, build our business bigger and get more members, and then I'll stay home and I'll have to help Mom run it.
Yeah.
Real matter of fact, he goes, oh, so get more members. And I'm like, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. And you know what? The truth of it is that simple. It really is. It is that simple. But I think, let's face it, it's a competitive market. There are some, and I don't think I'd criticize, I don't think I'd criticize any, well, I guess in what circles. Not as a criticism. This is a hoot for me. They're having so much fun. That's right there. Right there. That's what this is all about. CrossFit for kids. Burpee challenge. Uh-oh.
Burpee. Somebody knocked her pizza out of her hand.
But wouldn't it be awesome? Because that's the key right there. That is like the secret. That's who is it? Ponce de Leon, right? Looking for the fountain of youth. When you can find something like this to stimulate adults up here, the way these kids are having fun right now, that's awesome.
I think that's, like that, and you're talking about more members or whatever, and talking about people that it's kind of the correlation of fast food, right? I think what sometimes people think is that, like, if you go to a CrossFit gym, it's really no different than if you go to this gym down the street, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, so they kind of equate it as like, well, wait a second, I'm going to go and I'm going to pay $19 a month at Crunch, or you want me to pay, up to whatever, some of those CrossFits in places where it's expensive, right? We're talking like, $300 a month or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It would be like, well, that's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, cool, but you're also now comparing, apples to a rock.
Yeah.
It's not even apples and oranges at that point. Like, yes, are they both providing fitness? Sure. But, like, at the end of the day, right, you go and you pay your $9 a month, and that business model works. If it didn't work,
that's exactly right.
It, right? But the whole purpose is, like, when's the worst time to go to those kind of places?
Mm-hmm.
First 2 months of the year, right?
Right.
Whenever
right.
they're inundated with people that are like, I want to do this, and then they go and they work out.
That you will probably never see again.
You do it for like a week or something after not working out, and you're like, holy shit, my body hurts so much. I'll just wait until it's not sore and I'll go back.
Right.
Well, then you never come back.
Yeah.
Right. But then, like, and that's why, at least in my experience with Iron City, and I don't remember it happening here really, but like, you don't see a huge influx of people at the beginning of the year because, for one reason is that people are always like, I need to get in shape before I do CrossFit. Right.
You're about to be ambushed.
I know. And I'll tell you, like, I thought I was fit when I started CrossFit.
Hello.
How was class?
I have arrived. Yeah, class was good.
Yeah, class was good.
Awesome.
But,
Awesome.
You run into that problem.
This is our producer.
Yeah. I think
I'm
I think I'm good or like I'm fit,
Mhm.
and then you start doing this, you're like, oh man, but nothing that I could have ever done would have prepared me for it.
No, and you know what? I swear you were the first person, as I recall, who actually ever did like a no kidding breakdown of, okay, when people say, well, it's too expensive. And I swear you did like a line by line. You're like, all right, so this is a gym cost at like an average, LA Fitness or something like that. And if you want to add personal training to it, it's this much per hour. And if you wanted to go like 3 sessions a week, now you've got to be a member there. So you're going to pay your membership, whatever. If you get a special, if you don't, whatever. And boom, 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 boom. As opposed to, this is what I pay at CrossFit, and I get all that. Right. So, I mean, again, just round and round it goes. And I think, too, the market here, when we first opened our doors, I'll never forget, I was like, this is kind of insane because I didn't know, we had no frame of reference. We were like I think Philadelphia, CrossFit Philadelphia was in business across the state.
Right.
And us. And there was no, there was no one near our market to go, well, what would you price this at? Because at the time, Club One, beautiful. I mean, they had an indoor pool, an outdoor pool, you name it, all the amenities.
Right.
Literally, a full service cafe with a liquor license, a pro shop, tanning beds. I mean, things that I don't use, but they had it.
People do.
Yeah,
right?
they had it, and it was
justifies why they would be a member there.
Right. I mean, showers and that was another thing too that we wrestled with over the years, particularly anytime we were looking for a new location. Hey, will showers make it more marketable? Maybe. But here's my thing on that. I'm like, I believe it also adds a layer of headache that the average box gym being like us, like the model of CrossFit, that we don't need. Then too, do you have the space for it? Do you have the space for it to do it properly?
Or does that?
You got to get that on camera. Otherwise, it's...
Over this way, yeah, make sure. There we go.
And we're back. That's awesome. That is awesome. Hey, your episode from yesterday is live. It's on YouTube if you wanted to see it. And now this will be live tomorrow.
CrossFit Pittsburgh.
CrossFit Pittsburgh podcast.
Coach Zero. No.
Coach Zero.
Wait, that's what
that makes when I was thinking about that the other day when you said that it made me feel like
you should have wrote kick me on the back and then turn it around for
patient
me.
Zero. Like I'm the one that
He caused it all. It started with him. But
it's funny.
Yeah, but and I mean like little things like that. Like some buildings are more conducive to having a shower. Some schedules are more conducive, right? But for us, I look at it like, okay, we have a 5:30 a.m. class, ends at 6:30 a.m. Normal workday starts at 9, maybe 8:30, right? So theoretically, you're gonna have that person that's gonna come, get ready for work, and hang out for an hour and a half.
Yeah, right.
With who?
Yeah.
I mean, with who? And similarly, I know a lot of models have gone from like, no, we're CrossFit, but we're also some cool name gym.
Yeah, right.
So you could work out or you can CrossFit. And it's legit. They affiliate, whatever. That's super. But then, too, our model doesn't work for our model. You don't have a staff here. And one thing I'm adamantly opposed to, I think just liability and general safety for our coaches and our members. I don't care what neighborhood you're located in. Right now, you just go with a key fob and people can come and go as they please.
Right.
Really? What are you walking in on? And what's there waiting for you? I just wouldn't feel comfortable about that. You're not having a bourbon, are you? Listen, okay, put that here, show it. You could put it on camera. Come stand beside me. Not a lot of people know this, but I am big time into unicorns.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah, man. Deadliest animal in the mythical universe.
I don't think that's true.
All right, Logan's our fact checker. He's gonna call me on that.
Everybody thinks that unicorns like spew glitter out of their eyes whenever they cry, but it's not true.
It's not?
No.
How do you know?
How do you know?
Have you ever seen a unicorn cry?
Because unicorns aren't real.
We might have to call it right here because I'm about to cry and I don't want to do it on camera.
I don't want to.
You're not actually.
Glitter,
You know, unicorn tears heal wounds sustained in battle.
That's only in Harry Potter.
Now you're going to say Harry Potter's not real?
And
Harry Potter is.
you know, your dad and I met at Hogwarts.
Kidding.
Yeah. Mike was a professor because he's way older than me.
I was.
Although
Professor Michael.
That's right.
I taught potions.
Professor, what's your last name?
Petrogallo.
Okay.
P squared.
I taught potions, and then I for one semester I
What's
taught
your
the dark
so
dark
you were
arts.
friends with Professor Snape.
Severus was not. He was misunderstood.
Slytherin. Logan feels
There's
like
not
he
a
would be
wizard.
Gryffindor.
There's not a wizard who's ever gone bad that wasn't a Slytherin. Could you imagine if they? And I bet you, if you CrossFitted in the off season, you'd be a rockin' Quidditch player. Especially the what do they call? I was going to say bashers, but they're not bad.
Bludgers.
The bludgers.
Yeah,
Bludger, I think, right? Yeah. Beater, the bludger's
the thing.
the
right,
bludger's the thing.
that ball.
We're gonna have to have a Harry Potter expert. Alexandra, my daughter, she's a total. Have you?
Yeah, all of them.
Nice. I read them. Well, we started with the kids.
Yeah.
You know, way back when, we'd read them to the kids, and then we'd see the movies, and nice. But all right, so the 4:30 class is about to get underway. They will get loud, and we will resume this. But yeah, man, I mean, I think this was you know, sometimes we go off tangent a little bit, but the basic the common denominator of CrossFit, what makes it, and I knew it. I could feel it by his little hooves. Dude, that's awesome.
You are working on your modeling right now.
Look at that. Check me on the runway. It's gonna.
Ooh, and you caught it. That's
You know, listen.
impressive.
I'm old, man, but my certain things still work. Reflexes are still quick, and
I don't have as good a balance.
all right. Anyway, thanks for joining us. We will be back with more about our journey together tomorrow. Same bat time. Same, but maybe
bat
not.
time.
Are you good tomorrow?
Well, he's got a meet, so I'll be back on.
I'm not
Monday.
going to the meet.
You're what?
Oh, that's right. We're swimming with your cousins.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool too. All right. Stay tuned. We'll be back, and watch for more and more of Logan appearing on the show. All right. Later.
Yeah, see ya.
See ya. Here, throw a thumbs up. Watch what happens. Sometimes it always works for me. Yeah. Oh, now it's going to be persnickety. Yep, there it is. All right. We're out.